Welcome to the NAPO podcast. In this episode, we're joined by the Hardman Trust, the UK's only charity specialising in supporting people serving long prison sentences. We'll be discussing their directory, a resource designed to connect people in prison, on probation, and post-release with organisations, services, and funding opportunities that can help them rebuild their lives. So to start with, can you all introduce yourselves, let us know your names and what it is that you do for the Hardman Trust?
Hi, Tay. Thanks for having us on this podcast today. My name is Annette. I'm the Chief Exec at the Hardman Trust.
Hi, I'm Kirsty. I'm the Products and Partnership Officer at the Hardman Trust, and I work with the directory.
And I'm Gareth, and I'm one of the trustees of the Hardman Trust.
So what is the Hardman Trust?
So the Hardman Trust is the only charity in the UK that specialises in support for people on long sentences. We provide a small amount of financial support to people post-release in terms of supporting them with tools to start their own businesses, for example, engage in a training program or education or vocational training. So small steps to help them along their journeys. We also have the directory, which provides a comprehensive overview of services that are available to people both in custody and in the community. We run a Pen Friends program that matches volunteers with people in prison to help them feel more connected to the outside world, but also helps with literacy and just having a friend really to support their journeys. And lastly, at the moment, we're running a very small pilot project in London, providing more one-to-one support for people who having served long sentences upon their release in their resettlement journeys.
And so you've mentioned the directory. Can you explain what it is and how it came about?
The Hardman Directory, essentially it brings together funding and services of support for people who are in prison, people leaving prison, and it's also useful for people who are on probation or can be used by the professionals who are supporting them. So it's become a trusted source for people to go to for information that can be quite hard to find and scattered about. So originally we had people come to us asking for funding and saying, where else can I apply? Where else can I go? I'm really struggling to find this. So we put together a whole load of funding information for people. And people went, that's great. We really like that, but we'd quite like to know about services as well. So we then expanded it. So we became a directory of funding and services. So the idea for us is that we have a resource that puts those things together, which is targeted for supporting people who are in prison or who have previously had a custodial sentence. And the directory, unique to other stuff we have within the Hardman Trust, is also able to be used by any prisoner over 18. So it is for somebody who's had a 4-year sentence or a 2-year sentence or a 6-month sentence, as well as the people who we originally designed it for with the longer sentences.
Yeah, I think the directory is, it's a bridge from custody to community integration. And as well as all the services that have been mentioned, there are the how-to guides. So everything from 3 months, 2 months, 1 month pre-release, the day after release to 6 months post-release. That just allows the people coming up to their dates to understand what they need to do, hopefully understand what their practitioner and OMU and POM are doing for them. But also then when they come out in the community, they can expect to occur. Because if you've served 10 years inside, the world changes dramatically. Having this directory that not only gives you an idea of what services out there that want to support you, but also what it is that you need to manage yourself and what you would hope that the professionals around you would be managing. And I think that just settles anxiety. It allows you to plan. And that just means you're less likely to reoffend.
So when you say services and funding, what does that cover? What can people expect to see when they actually look inside of the directory?
Yeah, we have a section for funding and a section for services, and those cover the wide range of things that the wide population needs. So that will cover everything from housing, education, training, employment, financial support, debt support, services or funding for health and well-being, substance support, mental health, volunteering, and it just reflects the population and the needs that a broad range of people have with different areas that they are looking for support in. So it may be parenting, or it may be, I need help with applying for a pension.
And I think a key part of it is that all these services have self-selected to become part of the directory. So you're not dealing with the directory of a load of services and then having to reach out and go, well, do you work with people in prison? Do you work with people on probation? Do you work with ex-offenders with past licenses? Actually, all these organisations have are part of the directory because that is what they want to do. And I think in terms of then for practitioners, them understanding there's all these services. Do I need to go and check if they'll work with the man or woman I'm working with? Well, yeah, they're in the directory. Of course they will, within their licence conditions. But also for our people in custody and on probation, there are all these services that want to support me. And that builds hope and it builds resilience. And that can be really important when quite often you can feel quite marginalised and isolated.
So just to bring this to life a little bit more, can you explain a typical scenario that a probation staff member may access the directory and use it with a client?
I think when I've seen it used the most is in approved premises. This does occur in custody. Often the directories are in libraries, and the men will take the directory away and they'll be scanning over it in their rooms and bringing it back and go into their POMs and OMU and going, look at all this I can be doing, and especially the motivated people. But within the approved premises, I've seen key workers using it as part of building a rehabilitation plan. So alongside their licence conditions, their sentence plans, the stuff they have to do, and also their core needs, the accommodation benefits that sit with statutory organisations, are all these other pieces that we can build into plans that offer resilience to what the plan will look like. They'll offer a wider scope of services than we might normally use through statutory services or commissioned rehabilitative services. And this puts meat on the bones of that sort of legal framework that allows people to build their own rehabilitation plans alongside, and also makes links with organisations that who can I access once I'm not within the criminal justice system? And that is a real big cliff edge sometimes for people. And for our key workers and our practitioners, it's also, here's all these other services that I might be aware of, but I might not be aware of because they're not part of our typical funding streams, because we would normally go to our CRS services or we'd normally go to our statutory services, and here's a whole directory of these other organisations that are also willing to support us in the work we do.
So we know that almost all probation staff are massively overworked at the moment, but they are still trying to get the best results for clients. How will using the directory save them time without feeling like they're just having to learn another system?
If you can do an internet search, you can use the directory. It's very straightforward and it helps make the signposting more focused. You're not having to go to a whole load of different areas and search around. You can do a very basic search. It's very easily set up. So you can search for funding, you can search for services, you can search then further down, is this in prison? Am I looking for something in the community? That makes it really useful if you've got people who are being released to different areas and that you don't have knowledge of. And you can come up with a list of credible organisations that you know have been kept up to date and are still operational and in their own words will describe to you what they offer, and that then gives you relevant information that you can share with people.
And just to add to that, obviously the internet element and the digital directory is amazing in terms of time saving. But we also know you can't take your laptop onto the wings, and you might not be able to take your laptops into supervision sessions. So sometimes having the physical copy means I can go out and have those conversations and I'm not back and forth. I'll go and have a look for something and I'll come back to you. Actually, I can come and have that conversation with you and we can sit and we can look through the booklet. I'm going to have to go digitally afterwards, but it just reduces the to-in and fro-in where we can't use digital devices.
What feedback have you had from practitioners that are using this regularly?
So those who are aware of the directory, and this part of what we want to do is raise the profile of it, find it really helpful. I think, I've already touched on this idea of the self-selecting services, so that saves on time, being able to refer outside of our normal services. Yeah, practitioners and the staff within the prison who are aware of the directory, feedback has been really positive. The men, those are the people I've spoken with that have used it within prison, find it really good in terms of not just what can I access, but that idea of hope. It is a golden thread. This directory isn't just about services, it isn't about funding, it is about hope and people seeing that there are organisations out there that want to support them. So feedback from prisoners and ex-prisoners has also been really positive. But I think what we would recognise is sometimes the directory is not as high profile as we'd like it to be, and we'd really want it to be a tool, a rehabilitation tool that both staff and people in prison and people on probation can use alongside their statutory obligations.
I think just to add to Gareth's point is it's really designed as a one-stop shop for both staff and also people in custody to refer and help them in their journeys in planning for post-release. So that, I think, is the key purpose of the directory, is to be used as a resource, is to be used as a tool and not as an add-on, or it's there to be helpful. So I think feedback that we've received from people in prison has been positive in the sense of it's very clearly laid out. We have constantly take feedback to improve our services. For example, the family and the parenting section is a new section that we've added in recently because people have said actually that wasn't traditionally available in the directory because our focus was on, sort of resettlement services, but actually having support for your family and connecting with your family and children is also a very key part of that. So it's a holistic look at what is needed for people as they prepare to go back into their communities.
And I guess you touched on the profile of the directory. What are your hopes looking forward for how the directory is accessed and used by practitioners in the criminal justice system?
I think we want it to be used by everybody. We want all prison staff to know about the Hardman Directory. We want them to be using them in their day-to-day support for people. We want to receive feedback from people in terms of what else can be improved, how else can we do it better. At the moment, it's only available in English. Do we need to expand that use so then it's widely accessible to more people? We want people in custody to be able to use it to serve their needs, essentially. At the back of the directory, there is a release work plan or release plan diary for people to actually write in and think about their journeys in terms of then using the directory to do that. But at the moment, we have a few copies in each prison because the hard copies, the printable copies, are an expensive product to produce. We'd love for every single person to have one in their cells, but for us, that's not feasible in the sense of the cost of producing that. So at the moment, it's available in libraries. Prison staff have a few copies, but we would like people to be able to access it better and use it more would be the aim. Obviously, the digital directory, people outside of prison can access it, prison staff can access it, but we would really, the aim really is to have as many people access it as much as possible and to provide us with the feedback loop so then we can consistently improve it.
We also get feedback from the organisations themselves who are included, and it's really wonderful for us to hear from those organisations that they've been able to interact possibly with a veteran who wants to start their own business because that person has come to them via the Hardman Directory and they would not have had the opportunity to help that person move forward. So it's the opportunities that it is offering to people that is enabling us to keep going. It helps encourage other people to join the directory. And so in this last version that we've produced, we increased the amount of services by 60% because we had a lot of feedback that people wanted more health services, more mental health support services. We've put more arts organisations in there, and some of those services are for people who are midway through their sentence and they may not be ready to come out, but people need things to support their mental health and well-being so they're able to get through their sentence as positively as possible and engage with all the services and courses that they need to complete within prison to then be able to move through the parole and probation period and release properly.
And I'm just going to add on to that because I think I'm conscious this is aimed at probation, but I would also like to see more organisations come forward and say we want to be part of the directory. And if we look at sort of what Lord Timpson is trying to do, and outside of his original work, but it is that cultural change in society that other organisations will see the value of lived experience. They will see the value in people. So yes, probation staff, we want them to use it. Prison staff, we want you to use it. We want prisoners and people on probation to use this as part of their building new identities and rehabilitation. But we also want other organisations to buy into that and say, actually, we've got all these people and we want to give them second chances and we want to give them an opportunity to give back to society. So we want to be part of that directory as well.
And so for anyone that does want to get their hands on a copy of the directory, whether it's online or a physical copy, how do they go about that?
Yeah, we have the digital version is available on our website. If you go to our website, www.hardmantrust.org.uk, and look for How We Help, underneath there is Directory of Support. Within that directory of support, there's also a link so you can order a hard copy. So if you're working in an environment that requires that you can't access the internet, you can order a copy and we can send that out.
Just to add, the how-to guides are also available on our website, and it's broken down, as Gareth had mentioned it, in terms of month by release. So then you can really look at it in detail. And again, hard copies, we do have some available, but so if you wanted to get hold of a copy, do reach out to us, and we very gently ask, if possible at all, for anybody who asks for a hard copy to make a small donation via our website, just because they are costly to produce.
Thank you, Annette, Kirsty, and Gareth, for joining us on the podcast and sharing more about the work of the Hardman Trust. You can learn more about the directory, access the online version, or request a hard copy via their website. As always, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with colleagues and help us spread the word about the resources that can support rehabilitation, resettlement, and positive outcomes for clients. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the NAPO podcast.